This is the Lissmac SMW5 series machine. Here we have the Lissmac SMW5 series machine. This machine is suitable for a wide range of applications. If you want to grind thick material, you can do that. If you want to surface finish and deburr stainless steel and create a number 4 finish from a 2B mill, you can do that. If you want to simply deburr aluminum parts without a particular linear finish, you can do that as well. The customers who use machines like these have applications where they only need to do one side at a time, or if they have to do both sides, they are able to flip the part over because their volume allows for that. You can also process stainless steel that has been pre-finished and coated. You can process galvanized parts, deburr them without removing the zinc coating. That's done through setting up the machine so that you can have a softer contact drum with a micro finishing belt, for instance. But the point is that it's a very versatile machine. You can go from heavy grinding to very light, delicate grinding, all in one machine, in one configuration. This is the Lissmac SMW5 series machine. The SMW is steel mastered wet. The 533 references the series, which is the 5. The first 3 in the number of the name references that it has 3 heads, and the last number references that it's a 37-inch wide machine. 950 millimeters or 37 inches wide. We also build them in 1350 millimeters wide and 1650 millimeters wide. This is a wet machine, and it's designed to deburr and surface finish. You can do that simultaneously in a single pass, top only, or you can deburr with it. The wet machine allows you to mix materials in very short turnover time. You can do aluminum, you can do stainless, you can do carbon without cross-contamination with very simple changeover. Now let's walk to the side of the machine and see what we have inside. The Lissmac SMW5 series is a modular design, which means we can have 2, 3, or 4 heads. This particular machine has 3 heads. Here we have an abrasive belt, a wide abrasive belt on a rubberized, spirally grooved contact drum. In this head here, we have a barrel brush. And in this head here, we have a top brush. This would be front to back. This is the in-feed side of the machine here. On the abrasive belt head, we are removing a vertical burr. Whatever vertical burr is left over is laid lateral or flat, which makes it easier for the brushes to not only finish removing the burr, but to round or deburr the edges completely. This particular machine has a variable speed contact drum, so you can run the abrasive belt at different speeds to accommodate whatever application you have, your material size, thickness, and burr height. It's also adjustable so that you can accommodate different thicknesses of abrasive belts, anywhere from a very thick Scotch-Brite belt to a very thin micro finishing belt. This head here is called a brush head. Brush heads on the 5 series machine are interchangeable. What you see here now is what we call a barrel brush. It's a cylinder. This is used to create not only a deburring effect, but also a surface finishing effect. This machine is designed to do both. You can do deburring and surface finishing in a single pass, or you can configure it just for deburring. If you were to configure it with a combination of abrasive belt and barrel brush, that would be suitable for an application where you not only want to deburr, but you want to get a nice number 4 finish on your part. You can configure it so that you have an abrasive belt and 2 of these barrel brushes instead of having a barrel brush and a top brush, which we have for purposes of this example or demonstration. These brushes are also, like the abrasive belt, variable speed. You can turn them in either direction, and you can turn them at a speed that varies from slow to very fast, depending on, again, the results that you want to get. The benefit of having a variable speed motor on a brush head allows you to run different types of brush. So if you look at the barrel brush as the style of brush, barrel brush would be the style. The media that goes on it would be interchangeable. You can take this brush out and replace it with a different media. For instance, you can have a non-woven material in here that is very dense, very densely packed with a resin on it that is designed to just strip off large amounts of material, where you would maybe want to run that very fast. If you have a thin gauge material, maybe it's a galvanized piece and you have a zinc coating that you want to preserve, you would run this at a much slower speed, maybe even with a softer type of a brush. The fact that it's bi-directional allows you to get even 360-degree deburr around the part. Leading edge, trailing edge should be the same and the lateral edges as well, with all of your contours deburred at the same time. This head has what we call a top brush, whereas the barrel brush is a cylinder. These are cup style brushes. They're 6-inch diameter brushes. There's 7 of them across a 37-inch wide machine. These 2 are bi-directional. Not only can you spin them in either direction, the head oscillates as well. Means it goes left and right as it's spinning. Same for the barrel brush that we just talked about. These heads are all able to oscillate or not. You can turn that feature on and you can turn that feature off. Again, this is a style of brush, a top brush. You can put different types of media on that platform by taking out each brush. There's one bolt holding each brush and replacing it with a different type of material, such as a stainless steel wire or a ceramic or a non-woven material with a coated abrasive in between. That's the most popular configuration because you want to be able to do multiple materials in a wet machine, so you want to have a brush that can be as versatile as possible. When you configure a machine like this, whether it's a 2-head, 3-head, or 4-head, is really going to depend on your application. And it's going to be really decided based on an interaction between the sales team and your input and us taking a look at your application so that we dial in the exact right application. It's not always as easy as saying, well, we have this configuration in stock, so it's right for you. We want to design this machine and set it up to fit your shop and get the results that you need. I also want to point out that in between each head, we have plumbing or tubes that spray water onto the part as it's moving through the machine. This is one of the advantages of a wet machine. Not only can you mix materials, but you keep that material cool as it's going through the machine. And when you put these spray pipes at an angle where the abrasive meets the part, you're also preserving life of your belts because there's a cleaning action that happens so that your belts don't clog up as fast. I also want you to take note while we're in this, inside of this machine that we have a 3/4 inch plate steel frame, we have aluminum shielding on the inside, and we have epoxy coated steel on the inside of the machine. Now let's walk around to the back and see what we have going on in the back of the machine. The rear of the machine is the dryer area. On the SMW5 series, all machines come standard with 3 squeegee rollers on the top, 3 squeegee rollers on the bottom, and what we call dual air knives. And when we talk about dual air knives, what we mean is 2 air knives on the top and 2 air knives on the bottom. We also have 2 motors pumping the water through the machine. This is a closed system where the water continually circulates and filters and then goes back into circulation. So we have 2 pumps bringing that water up and through the machine to keep a continuous even flow of water over the part while it's traveling under the working heads. We also have a central lubrication system in the dryer area to allow you to lubricate from this point here with pulls of the handle instead of getting inside of the machine and taking the time to connect to each individual point. The dryer area is a very important part of this machine because we can talk about head configuration and how they work and the abrasives to put on it and achieve that result that you want. You can have the perfect finish for you, you can have the edge quality that you want, but you also need a dry part. And that's the advantage of the squeegee rollers configuration that we have and the air knife configuration that we have. When the part comes out of this machine, it comes out completely dry. The reason why we want a dry part is because we don't want that part to be put on a shelf or staged for the next process and begin to rust because there's water droplets on it. We also want a dry part so that we don't have stains and we don't have water spots while it's traveling to the next step in your manufacturing process. At the rear of the machine, we also include a hose with a spray nozzle on it that allows you to clean the machine out. After a day's use or after a shift, you want to spray the machine down, get some of those particles off of the frame and into the filtration tank. This is what this is for, so that you can keep your machine clean between uses. Key features of the SMW5 series include the wet functionality of the machine, which allows you to mix materials. Here we have stainless steel and aluminum in 2 different application examples. One of them would be a deburr and a nice surface finish, which would be this part here. This is a laser cut piece of stainless steel. It started out as a 2B mill finish, which is deburred nicely with a safe edge, even all the way around. That part started its life like this here. That's your 2B mill finish, stainless steel part, laser cut. This would be an example of a laser cut aluminum part, deburred only. In this example, we haven't done the surface finishing, we've done only the deburring. And you can see the difference in the surface because we have some swirl marks. That's an indication that we used only the top brushes of the machine. This would have been done as a RTT with an abrasive belt head, which is our R, and then a top brush followed by another top brush, both of the brushes of the top brush heads going in opposite directions. There's a raw piece, or what we would call a before piece, as an example of what this part looked like before we did the deburring. On the stainless steel surface finished part, this would be an example of an RBB, where we have the R, the abrasive head, which in the nomenclature of Lissmac, R would be also meaning roller. And then we would have a barrel brush going with the feed or against the feed, and then a third head, which would be a second barrel brush going in the opposite direction of head number 2. So if head number 2 is clockwise, head number 3 would be counterclockwise. That way we get leading edge, trailing edge, lateral edges, and everything in the middle. One of the key features of the SMW5 series machine is the touchscreen control. This is very easy to use. It's laid out very simply and intuitively. You can control all of the parameters for your abrasive belt head, your brush heads, whether it's a top brush or a barrel brush. You can tell it how fast you want it to go, you can tell it how deep you want it to go into the part, and you can tell it which direction you want to go. And we try to keep as much of that on the front page as we can so you're not scrolling through page after page. Also, we have your amp meters available here on the front so that you can easily see as a part is being processed how much pressure you're putting on the part, how much unit grinding pressure we have on the surface of the part. And you can also keep track of your hours of use and maintenance on this control. This control also has the ability to connect a barcode reader. That's an optional feature that we offer, and you can also connect through one of these ports to the Lissmac service team directly so that if you have an issue that we need to troubleshoot, we can begin that process remotely. The barcode reader allows you to create a barcode that corresponds to a batch of parts. If you have a batch of parts that's a certain material thickness, and you want a certain result on it, you can create a barcode, and you could even put it right here on the front of the machine. The barcode scanner will read that barcode, and it will set your machine to that saved program. This control allows you to save over 1,000 programs, and that barcode reader will interface with that so that you can eliminate setup time and keep consistency from one operator to the next operator and from shift to shift. Moving down here a little bit, let's talk about the in-feed table. This in-feed table is what we call a constant pass line. When you put a part through this machine at this height, it's going to stay that height regardless of the thickness of the part. Some machines have a table that moves up and down so that when the thickness of your part changes, the table would either have to lower or raise to accommodate the thickness of that part. With a constant pass line, you would not have to adjust an extension table in the front or the back when you change your thickness of part. Down below here, we have the filtration system. The filtration system is built into the footprint of the machine, so it doesn't take up extra floor space in your shop. The roll of paper is moving through the machine as it fills up with the swarth that's created from the deburring and finishing process. There's a float in there that lifts up and would indicate that this is ready to move, and then the machine moves that or scrolls that to the rear automatically. And then there's a warning light on the control that tells you when your roll is getting low. It simply unplugs from the left side here as we're standing in the front and pulls out when it needs to be serviced. Also, with a wet machine, it's important to know what is moving this assembly up and down, and is it stable? In our design, we use precision ground jack screws that are at the four corners of the frame. And we do that because we want them outside of the coolant tank, even if those are booted like they are. If they're in a coolant tank for years and years over the course of the life of the machine, that's eventually going to corrode and compromise the ability for those to turn freely and evenly. Outside of the tank and at the four corners is the most stable platform you can have in order to keep your in-feed table nice and level throughout the life of your machine. This is the most versatile machine that Lissmac builds, and here's why. We can swap the brushes. If you have a barrel brush in one day or one shift, you can put a top brush into that same head the next shift or the next day. You can mix materials. You can go from laminated, pre-finished stainless steel parts or galvanized parts, deburr them without removing the coating or the zinc, all the way through plate material that you want to hog off a lot of slag. And you can use it as a dedicated deburring machine, or you can use it as a surface finishing and deburring machine. So that's the Lissmac SMW5 series machine. It's a terrific machine. It's a versatile machine. It's a high quality machine. It's a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week machine. And if you have any questions about it, we look forward to hearing from you.